Hi, I'm Brad Bernthal. I'm the Director of the Entrepreneurship Initiative here at the Silicon Flatiron Center. You are at Entrepreneurs Unplugged. We're looking forward to tonight's event with Tim and Ryan from Rally and Brad Feld, who will be moderating. We've got two CU alums. I think this might be the first CU alum that we've had in an Unplugged period. Oh, no, Walter Knapp from ITP was CU.
We're talking two double CU alums.
Yeah.
Undergrad and grad.
Yeah, so to the fourth power is what we're dealing with tonight. We had a duo from Legit, for those of you who saw the Entrepreneurs Unplugged, with Todd Vernon and Walter Knapp last year. I'm really looking forward to this. It worked out great, so this should be a lot of fun. Quickly, sponsors of tonight's event are Silicon Flatirons. Is Jill Van Madry here from Atlas, where we usually are? There's Jill. And ITP, is Elizabeth Golder here as well? Okay. Quick plug for Wednesday night, Tom Keller is going to be over in Atlas at 6 o'clock discussing your market and customers as part of the New Venture Challenge series. So for entrepreneurs and wannabe entrepreneurs, I suggest that to your attention. And then next Wednesday here at 6 o'clock in the law school, Jason Hazelmeyer will be doing an IP crash course. So with that, quickly I want to do a quick introduction and then we'll get into it. Brad Feld, our moderator, is the managing director at Foundry Group. He's a venture capitalist and entrepreneur. Tim Miller is the Tim, you want to, yeah, dramatic wave, very well done. He's the CEO of Rally Software. Rally helps organizations perfect the art of software development through agile and lean practices. I'm a lawyer, so I just take this at face value. Rally is a 4-time winner of the highly coveted Jolt Award, the software industry equivalent of the Oscar. It's one of the fastest growing companies and also one of the top companies to work for in Colorado for 3 years running, which I suspect you're very proud of. Tim holds a master's in information systems and a BA in economics from the University of Colorado at Boulder and has more than 18 years of management experience. He's been honored as an Esprit Entrepreneur of the Year and a finalist for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award as well. Ryan Martens is the founder and chief technology officer of Rally. He brings proven leadership in high-growth software companies. He holds a master's in business administration and his bachelor's of science in civil engineering from CU. This is his 4th startup. Before Rally, Ryan directed the corporate adoption of internet technologies at Quest, and then he moved on to co-found Avitech, a Boulder-based custom software development firm with Tim. Ryan's successful efforts, along with Tim at Avitech, culminate in acquisition by BEA Systems in 1999. They're both highly involved with several community organizations, including happily this one. Please welcome Ryan and Tim for Entrepreneurs Unplugged.
So just to frame this for those of you that haven't been at one of these before, we've got about 45 minutes to an hour. We'll break it up into 3 sections. So Brad and I will do a little bit of sort of historical interview, get a sense of Tim and Ryan's backgrounds, how they met, etc. We'll spend a chunk of time sort of dealing with current reality, what Rally is about, what's going on with Rally, sort of how they've seen and built the software company they're involved in today. And then at the end, the last 15, 20 minutes or so, do Q&A. So please feel free to queue up your questions. If you don't have them, I can go on forever, so don't worry, no pressure. And with that, let's get started. Since this is a duo interview, some of the questions will be aimed at one of you and some will be aimed at both of you. The first one's kind of for each. Maybe spend a few minutes talking about, what happened from the time that you graduated from CU to the point that you started your first company. So Tim, you want to start with that?
Sure. Graduating from CU was actually a huge deal. I failed out, got back in, and graduated, I think, with about a 2.1. So I was not set up in a particularly good position to be able to get a high-paying job. I moved to Arizona, got into the real estate business in 1988, which was the worst real estate recession we've seen up to what we may see here in the future in commercial real estate. So it wasn't a great start. So I went back to school, got an MBA in finance from ASU, and got into consulting, loved it, but loved school even more. So came back to CU, tried to get my PhD in finance, basically failed in that again, and defaulted and got a master's in information system, which is where I met Ryan. After getting that degree, Ryan started as the first employee of a small consulting company. I was the second employee, and the three partners that founded it and us grew that business to about 40 people, very successfully and profitably. We ejected from that in large part because, in my case, I'll just tell my story now, I wanted to create a software company, and I wasn't going to be able to do that inside. So I started a company called Avitech, grew to 40 people, about a $10 million run rate. Sold it to BEA Systems, where I continued to run what was called the Accelerated Development Center, which used a lot of the concepts that we use in our product today. Did that for a year and a half until they sucked my brain dry. Went and lived on a sailboat with my wife and two daughters for a year and a half in the Caribbean and Mediterranean. Came back, worked as an EIR at Boulder Ventures, and then joined Ryan about 1 year to the day after becoming an EIR, which is an entrepreneur in residence, to help get Rally going commensurate with our first round of institutional financing from the venture capitalists, Brad Feld being one of them, and Kyle Lufkoff being the other from Boulder Ventures.
So my stories had to go backwards too after graduation, since Tim and I had some similar stories at CU. I started in civil engineering and found out we didn't have a CS major at that point in time, or the university didn't have a CS major, and so I found out all my A's were coming from CS classes. Those were my electives. But they didn't create the major until a couple years later, and I didn't want to go backwards, so I created a kind of a minor in CS, picked my own majors or my own classes I wanted to take, and came out as a BS in civil engineering with a minor in CS, and there was about as many people wanted to hire me as they wanted to hire Tim. I had my first startup while I was at CU and wrote a foreclosure application for a gentleman here in town, of which was endless scope creep, never finally delivered. I don't know how many hours I worked that summer on this application, only to deliver something that was never quite good enough. So I found my way into product management, believe it or not, trying to figure out how that whole world worked. So I ended up taking a sales job for a software company here in town, a little company called Small System Design, of which 20%, this is a great Boulder story, of which 20% of the profits of Small System Design went to the Church of Scientology. Didn't find that out until after I'd been there for about a year working.
Did they have health care?
We had great health care, yeah.
As long as you believe.
As long as, exactly. So I ran direct sales, filling out bingo cards, people that fill out bingo cards in back of magazines. Then I ended up running their dealer channel and decided I really like software, and clearly I had to fix my major problem. So I went back and got an MBA with an emphasis in CS, and one of my professors sitting right here, Clayton Lewis, who taught the AI and survey programming languages, and I came out as a director of product management and product marketing, and took a job at what was by far the most enticing place I could ever imagine in Bozeman, Montana, working for a spinoff of Hewlett-Packard. All about place. Second was everything else. So moved up to Bozeman, Montana. We were starting a new product up there, and it was in the fax business, and we were trying to figure out exactly what this thing was going to do, and trying to play around with the market. And we had another sister fax business down in Boise, Idaho, and we shipped 1,000 bad boards, fax boards, into distribution. So these fax boards would slip into the MIO slot, or the extension slots of HP printers, and they would print your faxes on an HP printer. Well, that was a great deal until we shipped 1,000 bad boards and you didn't get your faxes. So we basically took ourselves completely out of the entire fax business in one fell swoop, including the division I was working on in Bozeman, Montana, of which there really are no other jobs in Bozeman, Montana, unless you're going to go work in a bike shop. So that's how we found ourselves. One of the guys we met in graduate school at CU, and due to a professor in the business school who had worked with a number of students over time, was trying to start this new consulting company, and he went back into our class and the subsequent classes after he had graduated to pick up pretty capable folks who could do modeling and business analysis, and that's how we started the company in Denver called Resource Integration. That was '92.